Why do you create?
Every creation starts with a spark. Let's ignite a movement with She Creates 2025.
Behind every creation is a story of passion, of resilience, and of purpose. I'm excited to speak today with a woman that has such a story and I think holds the story of other people and other creatives in her hands. Please welcome Sophie Bouillon. I hope I got that correct.
Yes, it's okay.
What is your story in becoming a storyteller?
Oh, okay. So for me, a storyteller was even a new word that I learned in Nigeria, I would say. So I'm what I would call myself a journalist at the beginning. That's how I started my career for 15 years. I was going mostly in Africa, like with my backpack and my flip-flops and, to a lot of countries, war zones and everything. Anyway, life brought me to Nigeria, I think by curiosity. And I can tell you more later about, what I did at the beginning, but I was a pure journalist. And then started my dream, I would say, to also set up an academy, training programs or mentoring programs for young. At the beginning, I would call them journalists. So I talked to many of my Nigerian friends. I was like, I want to do an academy for journalists. And they were like, don't say that. Don't call them journalists because, there's this new trend of storytelling that is coming up. And unfortunately, I would say the word journalist, does not really have the same background that's I would keep myself proud to say that I'm a journalist. So in the past few years, this word of storyteller came up. And actually, I love it because, I feel that journalism, documentary, filming, photography is about telling stories. Yes. And actually, this word reshaped kind of my whole way of working and working with all these young creatives.
I can relate to coming into new terms, into new phenomenon, thinking about how that changed even the way that you relate with the aspect of storytelling that you came from, which was journalism. I know that you run an academy now in Nigeria called StoryMi Academy, and you have trained journalists, photojournalists, you've trained documentary filmmakers, illustrators as well. So you are quite, like, as I mentioned, you literally hold the lives of young creators and storytellers in your hands. I mean, of course, it's dramatic, but you get the sense of what I'm saying is that you are at the center of facilitating those who create and the way that they create. And I wonder if there's a story you can share about how that itself has affected you as a person and the way that you think about creating in the future.
It was really interesting because when I left my work as a journalist, I had lost hope in this job. I didn't find any meaning into it, especially as a foreign media journalist in Africa. We cover conflicts, we cover elections, we cover attacks, which happen, and they need to be covered. But at some point, I was feeling I was doing only that. And especially the process of elections, we all know, how it goes. And I felt a bit that I was kind of being used, as a whole ingredient in this whole. But anyway,
used as a pawn in the game.
Yes, exactly. Let's not go there. But it's true. And I was really losing hope. I really thought like, okay, what can I do? Okay, maybe buy a Airbnb, a guest house somewhere and cook for people. But deep down, I loved my job, and I really believe that it has a meaning. Like we do it for something, and to be with these youngsters, with young creatives that discover the work, discover how it is to screen a film about somebody else's life and the reaction of the public, or to see the pride they have in exposing the pictures in an exhibition hall, and it really gave me so much
hope. It's okay, we've got tissues.
No, but it's true. It really reminded me why I chose to do this job at the first time, in the first place. Yes.
Yeah.
So yes.
So speaking about stories and the young people that you work with, and also with the experience that you have as an international journalist and covering special stories, I'll put it that way. How important is the work of making sure that the storytellers, whether they're journalists, filmmakers, whatever it is, how important is the work of ensuring that they understand ethical storytelling?
Yeah, it's very, okay, so it's a very big part of our programs that we try. The long-term programs, we really talk about ethics. And so there's different ways of course, ethics. There's one class we did at the photo workshop that we organized together with the teacher, Fatia Abubakar, a Nigerian photojournalist. And she showed pictures, and she showed them, okay, so this picture of a black woman from DRC, pregnant, naked, apparently naked, on front page of the Time magazine. Okay, it creates a controversy. Why? And she started, the debate with the students about why did they think that it's controversial. And at the beginning, people, they were like, there's nothing controversial about that. But so we also try to make them understand what's, the ethical stories. Yeah. Can you show a naked woman on the front page of the Time magazine, especially if she comes from a village in DRC, that she has no idea that her body will be
used or shown that
in
way.
Every train station in the world. You know what I mean? So, so it's also, we try to teach them ethics, but also responsibility, because you have the life of people into your hands as a storyteller. And I think it's very important. It can make them, it can break them. Sometimes you want to break them. Sometimes in investigation, you want to put the light on what is not working. So you have a very strong power as a storyteller, and I think you must at least be conscious of it, aware of it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense. Is there a special place that you go to, within yourself? We're talking about creating, the art of creating, the process of creating, and that starts from within. Is there a place that you go to within yourself to either run away or hide away or recharge? What makes you, how do you, bring that magic back out?
Yeah, but to be honest, it's not easy. And to have your own company, and it's not something that I really learned as well in school, because I learned journalism. So really, yes, sometimes I feel discouraged. Also, I've been in Nigeria for 11 years. Yeah. It's not a joke. And, and sometimes I really tire. But every time I have a workshop, every time we have the programs running, every time, one of the former students calls and say like, wow, some of them, have been accepted in NYU, in New York University, to follow the documentary film fellowship. She's coming back to do a film about where she comes from as well. So so that really, that's my place. I would say that it really helps me to keep going. Yeah.
And that's where you find inspiration.
Yeah, that's where I find inspiration. Yes.
Do you see more collaborations between what's happening here, whether in Nigeria or our continent, and what's happening in the rest of the world? Yeah. And that exchange of information and exchange of stories, do you see more of that happening? Do you hope for more of that to happen?
Yeah, so I was in Senegal last week. To also look for maybe partners or collaborators that we could do exchanges with. Maybe we imagine residencies, with filmmakers from Nigeria going to Senegal and vice versa. Because I really believe that it opens your eyes as a storyteller. And also in Nigeria, first, I'm a foreigner, so I can't say that, but Nigerians really see themselves as the only ones in Africa sometimes. So it will be so important to also, share, from different countries. And also Nigeria is so talented and so ambitious that it will be very interesting for others to do this exchange. And it will take time, but for example, in the documentary filmmaking industry, 99% of the funds are outside of Africa, which is, I mean, it's great to tell Africans to tell their own stories, but if the money always comes from
somewhere else, the story is skewed.
Europe, exactly. So I believe that the more we'll create exchange, the more we will, build this community, then more money will flow, and then it will create a microcosm. That's and West Africa is really behind in terms of documentary filmmaking. For example, in East Africa or South Africa, they have film funds. They have things like that, so documentary funds. So we need to really push for that, and not Nigeria alone. I believe that. I'm French, so it's easier for me to travel within, West Africa and speak the language. But I was so beautifully surprised, by the scene in Senegal and the will to, discover more. Most of them, they know Lagos. They've been coming for some events and so on. So, there's much to do.
There's much to do. There's definitely much to do. But I admire the work that you do. I think I admire your bravery. Most of all, to not only be concerned about what happens here in Nigeria, but to also be living here, to also be, you're entrenched.
Bravery or craziness. Yeah. Thank you. No, but honestly, it was for me also to start this academy. It was a way to give back because I've been on this continent for 15 years as a white Western journalist. I'm really proud of what I did, but I really one day woke up and say like, okay, we need to change things. We really need to change things and change how we tell stories, about the continent. And Nigeria has brought me a lot, and it gave me this entrepreneurial spirit that I didn't have before I came here. So I'm happy I'm really happy.
And we are happy to have you here. I'm especially happy to have you in conversation with me on She Creates. One final question would be, why do you create?
Every creation starts with a spark. Let's ignite a movement with She Creates 2025.